to tell you the history of 7-Eleven. Okay, where did 7-Eleven come from? And you recognize these two kids right here?
Ashland's sister and Ashland.
So how do you change this thing? Oh, there you go. Okay, 7-Eleven started out as an ice company. At the turn of the century, or actually in 1851, the first patent was granted to somebody who invented a machine that could actually make ice. That was in 1851. So back then, people didn't have refrigerators like you have today. They had to go out and buy a block of ice, and they would put it in a ice box. So the block of ice would sit here and drain. Oops. So we make that go backwards?
Yeah, I can make it. Yeah, you can go back.
It's going by its own.
Okay. So,
It's kind of touchy. Got it?
It's going by its
There
own.
you go.
okay. So you put your milk and stuff in here, and your block of ice here. So you'd have to go out every day and buy a block of ice. Okay?
You can buy a ton of ice.
So that sounds pretty bad, doesn't it?
Yeah. Why?
So just to keep your milk cold, you had to go out and buy a block of ice every day. That's a big change for you guys.
Where do you get your ice from now, McKenna?
From water.
Well, yes, but where would you get it at home? That water, what happens?
Put it in a carton and then pour the water in the carton and then put it in the refrigerator.
Yeah, in the
Then
freezer.
tilt it.
Yeah, or some of you might have an automatic one, right, where it comes out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what they had to do before.
So the Southland Corporation owned 8 ice plants. So they owned 8 machines that could actually make a block of ice. And then they had 21 ice docks. And so people would come every day and buy their block of ice. So along came, this is what we call in free enterprise creative destruction. And what creative destruction is that your business model could get put out of business because of a change in technology or just a change in the habits of your customers. But in this case, the first refrigerator became available in 1920, but those were extremely expensive. They cost as much as a car back then. So not a lot of people could buy them. But the first affordable refrigerator came out in 1927, and it was called the Monitor Top. And the Monitor Top had its compressor at the top because it threw so much heat. Okay, so this became the first affordable refrigerator.
Is that smaller than the one you have now at your house?
Yeah, way smaller.
So Joe C. Thompson, understood that his business was now in danger. So how?
She's gonna grab it.
So he knew. So Joe C. Thompson understood that if he didn't change his business did not evolve, he would go out of business. Like most of the ice companies back then probably did go out of business. So he began adding bread, milk, and eggs to his ice docks. And that was the beginning of the convenience store industry.
Is it still there now?
Huh?
Is it still there now or no?
The original one, you know what, they just closed it. The original one.
Does everyone know what a convenience store is?
No. Yes.
We're gonna
Okay.
explain that.
Okay, he's gonna explain it to you.
Okay. This is the founding of the convenience store
This is the
industry.
founding. This is how it first started.
Yeah.
Okay?
So in 1936, he changed the name of his ice stores to Totem Ice Stores. And he began adding groceries, candy, and cigarettes, and the things that you normally find in a convenience store today. That was in 1936. In 1946, he renamed it 7-Eleven. The grocery stores back in the 40s opened at 9 o'clock in the morning and closed at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. On on Sundays they were closed, and they were generally open till 9 o'clock on Friday nights. So a store that was open from 7 in the morning till 11 was truly convenience. Because after 5 o'clock, there was nowhere place to go, right? So, by 1963, 7-Eleven had opened 1,000 stores. And they also began franchising in 1963.
What's franchising mean?
Franchising means that they set up the business model, but they allow someone else to own that business and run it under that name, 7-Eleven. And also in the 60s, they had these big red roofs. And the purpose of that big red roof was, it was so out of place with nature that your peripheral vision made you look at it, because you were driving down the road, you'd see green, brown, green, brown, green, brown, green, brown, green, brown, and all of a sudden there's something red that you just had to turn your head and look at it because it was out of place. So that's why these businesses had these big red roofs.
Do you think that would get your attention driving down the road?
No,
Make you maybe want to go there?
79 cents, that's right. I'm just gonna go there.
In 1965, Slurpee was invented and introduced. Does anybody have a Slurpee here? You like Slurpee?
Yeah. I want to get Slurpee again.
Okay. In 1969, 7-Eleven.
But not at
Uh-oh. It's not really a Slurpee.
No, you gotta go this time.
It's in Canada.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
In 1969, 7-Eleven expanded into Canada. And then in 1974, it expanded into Mexico and Japan.
What does that say?
This? It says convenience store. Can you read Japanese?
If some kid's gonna read Chinese, but I don't think we have any Japanese.
In the 80s, 7-Eleven expanded into Sweden, Australia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Guam, Malaysia, and the Philippines. So 7-Eleven was growing like crazy.
So it's in all these different countries. That's a lot of places.
And in 1983, can you see this? 7-Eleven began to move into the movies. This, I don't know if you can see this. This is War Games. What was the kid's name in War Games?
I don't remember.
It's a video game.
John would know.
There.
Who did that? Who did that?
That's a little better. Anyway, you can see that this is the movie War Games, and he's walking out of the store with a big go. So 7-Eleven, whenever you see a 7-Eleven store, or a Dell computer, or an Apple computer, or anything, these companies have paid to be there. And this is the first movie that 7-Eleven paid to be in.
What is it called?
This is the next movie. This is not the next movie, but this is another example. This is Thor. You guys might have seen Thor.
I see it.
How many kids saw Thor?
I've been in it. I saw it. And I just,
Yeah.
I was like,
You remember when this guy from that other world came and he blew up the 7-Eleven store, right? Yeah, that wasn't good, was it? Those people didn't have a 7-Eleven store.
The destroyer went.
Huh?
Yeah, I saw that movie yesterday.
Okay, we're listening.
Yeah.
Okay,
I saw it.
Right.
I saw it.
Wanja,
The first day it came out.
Wanja.
What other movie?
So anyway, 7-Eleven was so successful with this movie thing that they went to the directors, producers of movies, and they suggested that why don't we put together a business that you give us some first rights, we'll increase your profit. And so together they created the company Blockbuster. So Blockbuster really came out of 7-Eleven. A lot of people don't know that. And so 7-Eleven, or Blockbuster, was very successful for about 20 years. And then their business model began to break because, Netflix came out and basically did them in.
And then Woodblock and then
Right.
On Demand.
So this is the second CEO of Blockbuster.
You're
It
right.
actually stops.
Yeah,
You can't
that's
press
crucial.
forward.
Yeah.
And this is the second CEO of Blockbuster. His name is Jim Keyes. And he was the previous CEO of 7-Eleven. So Blockbuster's always been run by a 7-Eleven CEO. But now it's out of business. So this is part of what we've described before as creative destruction. This business's business model ended. And there was no way to save it. And so today, within this quarter, 7-Eleven will open its 50,000 7-Eleven store. So 7-Eleven, people don't realize this, is by far the biggest retailer in the world by number of stores. And most people don't know that. You know, so whatever 7-Eleven sells, it's the number one seller. It's the number one purveyor of that item. We're the number one seller of Budweiser beer. We're the number one seller of Twinkies. We're the number one seller of Snickers bars. Yeah. We're the number one seller of anything that we sell. Sure, only because of the number of stores. So, it kind of ends our history lesson on 7-Eleven. So, we can open up this for questions. What? Yeah.
Hey, let's raise our hands for questions.
Yeah.
I actually saw Blockbusters before. I actually see a store that's called Blockbusters
Yeah.
today.
I didn't hear that. What was that again?
I see Blockbusters, the store sometimes.
He sees it some. He saw it before. Yeah.
I keep going to Blockbusters every Friday night. I think they did him close now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That used to be a Blockbuster, and now it's a 7-Eleven. Exactly.
Gracie, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like, how did the 7-Eleven store spread to all different countries?
Say that again.
Like, how did 7-Eleven spread to all different areas?
By franchising, the main reason they were able to do that. They were able to grow so fast because they were franchising.
People bought them and wanted to open them. So people bought 7-Eleven name, and then they were able to open a store at 7-Eleven. So lots of people, it was popular. People wanted to do it.
Which state, where was 7-Eleven, where was 7-Eleven created?
In Dallas, Texas. Yes. Chris.
Go ahead.
Chris.
Is he done? Does he have a question?
Oh, he can't think.
Aiden, did you forget? Or who was it? You forgot?
Oh, I didn't have a question.
Yeah. Say that again. Why do I want this job?
Yeah.
I've had this job since I was 21 years old. I bought my first store.
How old are you?
41.
Remember, we don't ask that question?
So I've owned a 7-Eleven store for like 42 years. So it's something that I've always owned, and it's been good to me. Yeah,
How many different 7-Eleven stores have you owned?
I've owned 3 different stores.
3
Yes.
million? Do you like your job?
Do I like my job? Sometimes. You know, it's got its ups and downs. Running a business is tough. It's really tough. It's very competitive. You've always got somebody that's trying to do whatever it is that you're doing better than you, and that's part of the creative destruction process. There's always somebody trying to do whatever it is that you're doing better and cheaper, and that's why our standard of living keeps rising. Yes.
Is it hard? Is your employees like, is it easy to work with them?
The employees? Well, that's the biggest challenge to running a business 24 hours a day, certainly. But right now, it's easy to get employees because of the unemployment situation, so right now, it's very easy to run things. Anybody else? Do you have a question?
Is that a
We're gonna get, who wants a free Slurpee? Okay,
Do you
everybody-
like owning your own business?
Do I like, yes, I've never, I haven't had a job
Wait,
since
what
I
is
was
that
21
stuff?
years old.
Okay, listening. Let's put our hands down. I'll get one in a second.
Yeah. I can't imagine working for somebody else.
Colin and Baden, sit down. Adrian.
Sanjay has a question.
Sandra, you have a question?
I want a free Slurpee. Is your job fun?
Is your job
Everybody's gonna
fun?
get a free Slurpee.
He says, is your job fun? She said,
It is fun sometimes, yeah.
How?
You know, I don't answer to a boss, I'm my own boss. I don't have to say, can I go to lunch now, it's just,
He says no.
I couldn't, since I haven't had a job since I was 21 years old, so I couldn't imagine answering to somebody else other than me. I don't think, once you're done, if you've been your own boss for 42 years, you could never go back and get a job and work for somebody else, yes.
Is it difficult, like, with the employees, like, do their best?
They do their job?
Yeah, do it.
Well, it depends on your leadership skills, on whether you can, you can motivate your employees to do the best that they can. And it's also all part of the hiring process, looking for the best employees that you can possibly hire. That is the main part of the job, is hiring and training employees.
I thought it was Slurpee kind of.
Gabe, do you
Gabe
have a
has a
question?
question.
Yes.
What's your question?
Well, since like this Togo opened a lot these days, they'll open like all night and all day. Do you ever like have a break?
That's a good question.
Yeah, do you ever have like a day
Yeah.
off or?
I haven't run a shift in 35 years, probably. So, it's just a matter of training employees. We say that our employees own their job, so it's up to them. If they can't come into work, it's up to them to find somebody that can. So they never just call me and say, I'm sick, I can't come. It's up to them to call one of their other fellow employees. And we try to hire people that will work together so that, if you're unwilling to trade with somebody, then nobody will trade with you. So it creates tension. So we try to avoid that by training our employees properly. Yes.
Are you an employee or?
No, I'm the owner of the business.
Yeah. You're the boss? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know that? Do the 7-Eleven stores open as much as they did back then?
When I first started with 7-Eleven, it was only open from 7 to 11.
And now it's open 24 hours, right? They're open all day and all night.
And now morning?
Yes, it was called 7 to 11 because it used to be open from 7 in the morning to 11 at night.
Now, what kind of things do you sell at 7-Eleven if somebody's never been there before? What do they have there?
I know a bunch of it.
7-Eleven sells, but your basic groceries, milk, bread, Slurpees, candy, cigarettes, beer,
Okay,
pop.
we'll go in there. We'll wait.
Yes, we sell giant chocolate. So what is the main product 7-Eleven sells?
What's the biggest thing? What are they famous for?
What?
Ice
We
cubes?
sell ice cream.
Oh, I there's ice cubes.
Christmas,
Yeah.
my dad got a tree.
Everybody knows 7-Eleven for Slurpee, but actually the number one selling item is cigarettes, it's sad to say. So,
But we shouldn't use those, right?
no.
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 All day long.
So the number one item that 7-Eleven sells them is so we sell you your time. If you say you needed a gallon of milk and it was $3.59 at 7-Eleven, but it was $2.99 at Meijer's, where would you go? Well, if you're paid, say, $20 an hour, and it took you half an hour to walk into a Meijer's store and buy half a gallon of milk, and you could buy that same gallon of milk at a 7-Eleven store in 5 minutes, your time is worth more than the little bit of savings you would get by walking through a Meijer's store. And that's the whole idea of a convenience store. We sell you your time. Let's say it's raining outside, you can park right at the front door and run in.
Is 7-Eleven like bigger?
Kayla.
Like the stores or stores?
The average 7-Eleven is 2,400 square feet. That answers your question. Do I ever sleep? Yeah, I sleep all the time.
He's bossy. He doesn't have to go work all those hours.
So like you bring your bed into 7-Eleven?
I don't work a lot.
Correct.
That's the benefit of being your own boss.
Yeah.
You have employees that do all the work for you.
Yeah.
You can sit around all day
Kate, stop. Turn around and stop playing with it. Turn around. And is that Cooper? Tell him to stop too. Tell him to stop right now.
Yeah, right.
Cooper, stop.
Yeah.
So do you always go there?
I go there almost every day.
So like, do you have the key to like lock it, or do the employees?
There is a key to lock it, but we don't ever lock it, so it never closes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Except on Christmas Day.
Sometimes we close it on Christmas Day.
Kidding. You said it closes at 11.
No, it doesn't.
No, a
It
long
used
time
to.
ago. It used to. Now it's open 24 hours, all day, all night, all morning.
So who stays?
It's
Who
open
stays
all
there?
day. Well, I know, the people can't work there all day and all night, when,
Colin.
like, the same person, so there's night people and day people.
Yes, that's
People
true.
who work in the day and people who work.
You know, a lot of people today, most factories do run 24 hours a day. They don't shut down. You've got a huge investment, say in an auto plant. You've got this huge investment. You can't just shut it down for 8 hours. It has to be running 24 hours a day to make those assets pay for themselves. So 7-Eleven is there to service those people who do work 24 hours a day.
Gracie, you have another question?
Gracie and then Alex. Gracie?
Like, is there an area where you can get the drinks behind, or is it in the store where you can just walk up and get it? Like get the.
She wants to know, does somebody give you the drink or do you just go up and get it yourself?
Yes, it's self-serve.
Yeah, so you just go get it yourself. You get to pull that little lever to get your Slurpee and it comes right out.
Actually, it was the franchisees that did this. When 7-Eleven first came out with Slurpees, it was clerk serve. And the franchisees turned the machines around and made it self-serve. And the company got all mad about it. But it increased sales so much that then they left it that way. So it's kind of interesting.
Alex?
Do you guys sell snow cones or ice cream?
We sell a lot of ice cream, a lot of novelty ice cream type stuff,
I had the ice cream.
a lot of pints of ice
I want
cream.
ice cream.
What is your employee turnover rate? Do your employees stay a long time, or?
Well, right now they're staying a long time. I think our average employee's been there at least 2 years. Maybe. But
And that's
it's
a
been
long
better
time?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that 2 years was a long
What?
time. I wouldn't have guessed that 2 years was a long time, so that's interesting.
It's not a long time. Well, in this kind of
For
business,
you, yeah.
And better, when the economy is better, the turnover rate increases.
Yeah. Joey, last question.
Does the Slurpee machine make chicken noodle soup?
That's silly. You know that. It doesn't do that. But they do have all kinds of different flavors, right?
Of what?
Chicken noodle
Slurpers.
Slurpees.
Slurpees.
The store has
Joey,
10 different
don't answer.
Slurpees, 10 different kinds.
10 different kinds. Okay, what do we tell Mr. Irvine?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Who wants to- you want
Okay,
to pass?
Ashlyn can pass those out.